What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 941 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Chrisitan Pyles, joined today by the dynamic duo Ben Funky Askren and James Dean Rader. JD is back in Texas. I am still on the East Coast. Gentlemen, good morning. How are you? How are things?
Are
Ben,
you on a horse
how are
farm?
You?
That's where it looks like you were at.
Yeah, I'm on a horse farm. No, I'm just at my parents' house. It's more of a dog farm, if I'm going to be honest. A lot of dogs.
Nice.
But yeah, no horses. There used to be. I wouldn't be able to do this a couple of years ago because there was a rooster here that crowed morning, noon, and night, and it would have been a terrible experience. But they're dead, I think. We're not here anymore, so I can be out here.
There you go. Boom. Let's see. We got 1 week till Fargo. We actually leave the Fargo camp on this Friday, so getting everything, the final touches on that. Should be a really fun week next week. And that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, how the boys looking?
We're looking good. I think we got a lot of guys who can do some damage.
All right, that's good to hear. JD, what's going on? How does it feel to be back in Texas? I'm sure it's cooled down considerably.
No, it is still unbelievably hot. It was nice to be back in the Midwest for a week where it is only in double digits.
Oh, yeah. That double digi life. That's nice. Okay, so we're going to get into a couple things. We're going to talk about Bo Nickal's spectacular UFC performance, JD's recruiting class rankings.
Oh, yeah.
David Bray was in Colorado Springs at World Team Camp, got interviews with like almost every number one for men's freestyle side and more to come there. And so we can talk about that along with questions. So pretty solid show. Why don't we start with Bo? Because that was pretty spectacular performance, albeit against someone who Ben believes to be a landscaper, not a professional fighter.
I was like, I don't want to put this guy on the bus, but and listen, this guy, he looks like he's happy to be landscaping. He loves what he's doing, and he's trying to make it in life. So I love the guy. He actually seemed like a really good personality. But at the end of the day, he was cutting lawns on Wednesday, and he got the call to come to the UFC and fight Bo Nickal. And he took his opportunity, and his opportunity didn't go very well. But, you said this. I don't remember if it was on the show or if we were just talking outside of the show, but it is annoying, and I always found it to be this way. But in fighting, it takes forever to fight really good people. I think it was on the show. It takes forever to fight really good people. And in wrestling, like, if you think you're the best in America, you just go to the U.S. Open, and then you just wrestle all the best dudes, and then we know. And in fighting, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's annoying. And also, like, I know that the UFC is not going to probably do this, but like Bo did not get an opportunity to prove himself against anyone remotely relevant. So it's like if they're waiting for him to like continue past tests before they climb up the ladder, this guy provided nothing other than like a really strong knockout, highlight. But I'm sure the UFC probably doesn't look at it quite like they understand what they have in Bo.
Yeah, they're trying to build the brand, give him some hype, and then but on the unfortunate part, then Dana did say something like, "We like what we're matching him at, and we're going to keep him." Like I don't remember exact verbiage he used, but essentially saying we're not going to bump him up really fast. Which to us, as people who want good competition, it feels as though he's clearly ready for someone of significantly better competition. And so when you're continually matching him with someone of lower competition, this is why I said last year was on the January contenders. Is like compared to him, these dudes suck. So no, I'm not interested because it's gonna beat these guys 100 out of 100 times. So like I'm interested in a fight when there's one guy versus another guy and they're both good. Honestly, kind of like those last two fights on Saturday night, they were freaking really good.
Yeah, I actually didn't get to watch any of the card.
You're East Coast, so you're probably even crying because it would have ended at like 1:30 or something.
Bro, they are very long, late nights, but I wasn't able to hopefully watch the next big card. But yeah, it seemed like an amazing card. Yeah. I thought Bo's post-match interview was awesome. They did a good job there. A man with his priorities clearly in order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought he was
good
going to
stuff.
give Coach Kale a shout out. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, it seemed like he was more just shouting out his like core MMA training team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure Coach Kale's very appreciated in the dynamic.
I'm sure he is.
Certainly. Okay, JD, You want to do some recruiting class rankings talk here, or do you have any both thoughts first?
It sucks. There's no real solution for this in the UFC or in any individual sport, but like when somebody can just get hurt that close to a fight, and it's like, okay, well then it's basically done. The UFC has a real big problem with it, but there literally is no solution besides finding a late replacement like that, and somebody who generally is not going to be of super high caliber if they're not either in a fight camp training for another fight or, willing to take this risk. They need to. A lot of your top guys can say, no, I'm not going to take this fight on 3 days notice.
For like main events, they'll bring like a third guy there to like make weight that's like high caliber on some occasions.
For title fights,
Yeah, but for the first match or first fight on a card, maybe not.
Yeah, they had another fight that fell out this week, and it was someone got hurt. They brought in a replacement, kind of like they did for Bo, and the replacement had not fought in the UFC prior, and the guy was good. And they put it, they put you through a more rigorous battery of tests if you're going to fight in the UFC versus a small organization. And I don't remember what the problem was, but he literally went into emergency surgery, and they said that him getting called up to the UFC like saved his life.
Whoa!
I know it's like I can't remember. I should look it up. It was like a brain aneurysm or something to that effect.
Holy cow!
Let's see. Good. I'll Google it real quick. Brain. Oh, I can't see. Let's see. UFC. Brain reveals brain disease. Oh, yeah. Wild, right?
Not ideal, but yeah, that worked out good. Okay, that's why they should have backup fights for everyone. Who knows what health problems we could uncover.
They are. I will say there are a handful of guys. And Cerrone was this guy. Kevin Holland's kind of this guy now. And it seems to give these guys a lot of hype in their careers when they're just like, listen, if there's a late fight that falls out, call me. I'll show up.
That's true.
It's really true because they get more fights because they're willing. Yeah, they're willing to show up. And then everyone's like, oh, sweet, that dude's fighting. I didn't realize that. And then, and like they get all psyched for the last couple of days.
Yeah. And then go get knocked out in 30 seconds.
Kevin Holland get beat up by. Oh, when Kevin Holland, remember he agreed to fight, was it Chimaev?
Yes, Hamzat.
Remember there was that last switch and he fought Chimaev and got choked out fast.
Yeah, he does that.
Yeah.
All right, JD. Get into your recruiting class rankings. Are they out? Have they been? I feel like I haven't seen a lot of hullabaloo about them yet. Are they out?
Yeah, they're out. Yeah, they've been out for a week or so. They came out a little bit later this year. The whole Oklahoma situation altered a couple things. Dylan Russo and some other guys flipped from who were going to go to Oklahoma. It took them a while to get the releases and flip, but they are out. The top 20 with a couple honorable mentions at the end. Oklahoma State taking the top spot with 3 guys in the top 10 along with some other solid guys. So
nice. I made this comment to you guys when we talked about doing this. And is it like, dude, given what happened last offseason, like how much do recruiting class rankings matter? Because if these dudes miss, then they could just go pick some other people up like in a couple years that don't miss. It feels as though maybe they're less important. They used to be like so vital. And now maybe that feels like it's not quite the case.
Very much
way less important. Yeah, I mean, if JD's talking about, hey, there's a hole here if this doesn't pan out or this guy's not ready, but it's like he's talking about Michigan. It's like, well, Sean will just get a transfer that could fill that weight just as likely. It is, and we were talking before, like next year, you almost have to include transfers with the recruiting class rankings after this year, which I think will maybe give a more clear picture.
It's kind of wild that Michigan had all that money given their recruiting classes.
Right?
Yeah.
How in the heck?
Well, if NIL is offsetting scholarship, then, there's unlimited potential money, so.
their class this year is really good. I mean, I think you could actually make an argument for them above Oklahoma State potentially. One of the things I see in the Oklahoma State class. Well, one of the things is, Oklahoma State has just not been, I'll probably get roasted for this, but they haven't been developing guys as good recently. They had a number one class in 2020. That was only 3 years ago. And if you look at that class, they're not crushing it, right? They weren't challenging for a national title this year. And that was 3 years ago. But they got 3 guys that are four guys in the upper 3 weight classes. And so unless one of them somehow can shrink, they're not all these guys are going to start in their career. Whereas Michigan, I feel as though they really spread those classes out really well between Horwath, Lemley, and then Gilcher's next, and then Mantanona. Adams maybe could slip in there. He might actually get pushed out. And then you got Remy Cotton and Hayden Walters up in the upper weights.
Yeah, so I think one, Ben, your points are all valid, but I think for JD's purposes, you can't factor in a team's track record for development of a previous weight class. It's like you kind of just have to go by, hey, these are the big board rankings. Do you believe them? And if you do, then. But I will say, despite that, they do have 3 top 10s, which is a fact. But balancing that versus 6 top 35, I don't know what you prefer. I kind of agree with you that they could have. I mean, without getting into maybe too many particulars, but how, do you have as much confidence in Braden Thompson being a hammer recruit as Bo Mantanona? Maybe. Yeah. I think I might. I like Bo's point scoring potential a lot, and I think he's interesting. So I think even though it's 4 and 14, I don't know. I'm not 100%. I'll say this for both teams, neither have a recruit where I'm plant a flag. This dude is going to have serious multiple All-Americans finishes. Who are you saying? Oh yeah, this guy is a finalist. This guy's going to be a champion. This guy's going to place 3 or 4 times.
Well, of Michigan and Oklahoma State, if I had to pick, if you're telling me I have to pick one, actually, honestly, I feel similarly about Braden Thompson. Maybe not as similarly as Ferrari, but I think he could do really well. He's already kind of on the level, but then I think maybe he doesn't. Maybe he, kind of doesn't find the proper habits in college and doesn't lead him down a good path.
If there's one guy from Oklahoma State and Michigan that I probably think the most highly on, it is Braden, just because, I mean, he's already competing in at senior level U.S. Open stuff. He's made world teams, and he hasn't had the injuries like maybe Christian Carroll has, and some other stuff where we haven't seen Christian compete sometimes. But I do think highly of Bo Mantanona as well, but I would stake more on Braden being very good.
Yeah. So
see, I would actually, I kind of.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ben, to retract my statement slightly, if I had to plant my flag at one guy and say, this person's going to score the most points over their entire career, I would say it's Christian Carroll. Because if you look at how heavyweight is going to clear out, I thought he had a really nice spring. I think heavyweight is just how would I say this? I feel like it's a little more, with his skill set, I have a hard time seeing him bust.
There's not as much depth. I think it's probably what you're trying to say.
There's not as much depth, and he is not a guy who's just a big plotter who hand fights well, and you don't really know much about his athleticism. I think Carroll is a strong athlete with who's skillful. So as long as he's healthy, and I know he did have an injury, but he had other things that kind of kept him off the competition mat as well. So I kind of do feel strong that he's going to be a good contributor.
Yeah.
If
so I mean,
he hadn't come back,
Oklahoma State's 2020 class, only half of them are actually still half of the ranked ones, and I think probably half of all of them are actually still at Oklahoma State. Ferrari, Mastro, Jacase, and Burks are all gone. At least Brownton is gone, and I don't know about a couple of these other guys that are ranked down here, but I haven't seen them in a while, so like they're just not sticking around.
Yeah, true. JD?
I was going to say, if Carroll hadn't come back and had a spectacular U.S. Open and Junior World Team trials, I was kind of not out on him, but we hadn't seen him in so long. And then the last time we saw him, it was just Greco. He made the Greco World Team and didn't even try to make the Freestyle World Team. So there was a lot of questions. But because he's had a great spring, yeah, I am back in on Christian Carroll.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly, this whole class is man, I think it could go a lot of different directions. There's a lot of talent, but there's not a lot of guys where I'm feeling that. I mean, Ben Keeter, I think he has all the talent in the world, but JD wrote about it. What's the likelihood he's not a wrestler in a year? I mean, he's gonna start football. He's gonna start football in a couple of weeks, and that's where his scholarship is. And he's like on an NFL trajectory, potentially. He said as much, and I think he loves wrestling, but at the end of the day, what can change his life and his family's life is he becomes an NFL tight end. So I think you're the number 2 overall recruit. You may never see that guy, or you may not see him for 4 years. And that's a class that already lost Nate Jessaroga. So now it's Gabe Arnold, Rader Block, and Cale Peterson. So that's another potentially combustible recruiting haul for Iowa City or for Iowa.
Not even will he be a football player, but think of the likelihood of him getting hurt goes up when you play Division I football. And just so he's not going to be training wrestling for half the year, at least.
Oh, yeah. Probably at least half the year.
At some point, you kind of have to choose.
Yeah, I think they've been good. If they're good this year, he's playing football till early January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, even if they have a December bowl game, he's not going to all right, good season. Let me go practice Monday. It's like there's going to have to probably be a period of time after that.
Yeah.
Which, you could say heavyweight is something where you're more likely to be able to navigate that than if you were a 33-pounder, which, of course, there's no 133-pound Division I football players that I'm aware of. But all that being said, it's still it's a huge demand of Ben. And, he hasn't been – I haven't heard a definitive plan of what it's going to look like and how much we can expect him in wrestling. Yeah. And they can put out the graphics about him, but doesn't mean he's going to wrestle 4 years for you.
100%. Hey, let me ask you this question, and I pose this, and I don't know, you guys might be annoyed by this question a little bit, but I think it's relevant, and I don't know if transfers are getting paid, which I think we all believe they are, even though maybe we don't have factual evidence of that. How long until the top 5 in high school? Because not everyone's gonna be able to demand this, right? Because they're gonna say prove yourself. But how long until the top 5 or the top 10 say, hey, I want some NLI on top of my scholarship? I mean, is it already happening? I don't think it is, right? But how long till that happens? Or you think it's
happening a little bit? Yeah, it's happening. I know there's someone that we were talking to, and he's like, yeah, and NIL is coming up in almost every recruiting conversation we're having.
Wow.
In some way, shape, or form. 100%. It's happening. Knox for sure was happening with who's your guy? Hopkey. I mean, so if it's happening with those guys, I'm sure it's happening with the others. These are just the ones we're communicating with. NIL is a big part of it.
And I do think just because of the nature of, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid and college coach is a little bit different than, say, a 21, 22-year-old transfer, that these kids aren't demanding money,
I would almost think it would be easier with high school kids, because high school kids have for the most part, most of them have no concept of money. You know what I'm saying? Their net worth is probably relatively close to zero. And so if you say, here's $20,000, they're like, oh, what am I going to do? Whoa, what am I going to do with $20,000? And generally by the time you're in your 4th year of college, you're probably paying your own bills and maybe have your own car payment and your apartment payment. You kind of like start having a concept of money. I feel like it would be easier with high school kids.
I feel like the no concept of money actually works both ways, where they probably think like, oh yeah, 6 figures is not. You guys got that. You can swing 100K for me. For the athletes, for a regular kid maybe not, but for these athletes, just so I don't know.
Most of the kids
but I
that
think
I talked
NIL's
to
for sure coming up.
Yeah, most of the kids that I talked to about it too, they were like, yeah, I hope I get some, or I expect to get some, but most of them were just grateful, to be being recruited by some of the top schools. And it's like, I want NIL, that's kind of like a cherry on top of the cake thing.
Yeah.
At least that's what they have vocalized to me. Like, but hey, I want to go win NCAA titles. I'm not trying to get rich here in college.
Man. Hey, I clicked on the 2020 recruiting class rankings to see Oklahoma State's class. Ooh, Iowa's class is kind of rough too, though. They have Patrick Kennedy is the only starter from that class. It's Ybarra, Christensen, Reyna, Schriever, Schrader, and other Schriever.
Ouch. Let me look at it. Were they the number 2 overall class?
They were number 2. Mizzou is number 3, and that's looking good, guys, because we got Elam and O'Toole, and then Hawks is also a starter. And I believe Edmond will be a starter again next year. So Elam and O'Toole already have 6 All-Americans between the both of them.
Whoa, yeah, that Iowa class is rough.
It's rough.
Turns out D1 wrestling is hard.
Almost no country. Yeah, jury's still out on Keegan, but the rest of the class is looking good for Missouri 2020.
Dude, I'm scrolling through these. I'm starting to think the 2020. I'm ready to go look at the 2020 big board because I'm not impressed by any of these classes. They're kind of all like
none
are that good in the top whole bunch. None of them. It's like you look through them all, you're like, wait, someone's got to be winning, right?
Honestly, I mean, North Carolina with McNeil, Kane, and Lout maybe on par with anything. Look at NC State, Scott, Trumbull, Jack, like 3, and Noto, who
Noto's the one that's at Lock Haven, right?
He's at Lock Haven, but obviously he was not even on the big board.
Yeah,
recruiting is so insane.
It really is, and that's why I mean, I guess maybe that's why it's better to spend NIL money on older guys that are proven, because there's so many high school kids who don't turn out to be that great.
Yeah, this is kind of a wasteland.
I wonder if I mean, obviously you guys know that some years, and we did this last year. I kind of love this. Like, if you guys said, "Hey Ben, let's do a whole show about this," or "Let's do a whole week," I'd be like, "Cool, I love it." Going back to look at like old big boards and stuff. Do you remember we did it last year? And I don't remember which class it was. One of the classes was like, "Oh my god, everyone in the top 15 is amazing," and then one of the classes was like, 1 or 2 of the top 15 were any good.
It was the Yanni Spencer Dayton class. I think they're all the same grade. And Suriano's year old. That one had, I think that's the crazy one. I think that's 2017 big board.
All right, you want to hear the 2020 big board, because 2020 big board's got a bunch of dudes who are not All-Americans yet, and we would have expired three seasons by now. Amos 1, O'Toole 2, Kennedy 3, Bartlett 4, McNeil 5, Katka 6, Howard 7, Saunders 8, Saldate 9, Ferrari 10.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Saldate was 9?
Yeah, you have him ranked number 1 in his weight class at that point in time.
Man.
That probably is about on par with most big board years, no? In terms of production from your top 10 guys?
It's only, let's see. So, okay,
Keegan's All-American. Let's read 27. Listen to 2017.
Yes.
Dayton, Spencer, Yanni, Vito, Labriola, Brady Berge 6, Jacob Warner, Dupre, Nick Lee, Singletary 10.
That's ridiculous. See, that was ridiculous compared to this.
Then it goes Austin Gomez, Austin O'Connor.
Dang.
That class gets talked about all the time as like
19.
this great class, though. That is an outlier.
That was an outlier for sure. But there's multiple guys on here. who don't start, and there's multiple guys on here who, I mean, there's a lot have never all. Saldate never All-American. Saunders, Howard, Katka. Did McNeil All-American this year?
Yo, 2018 is nasty too. Listen to 2018. Gable, Aaron Brooks, Mason Paris, Sammy Sasso, David Carr is the top 5.
Oh my God, that's the top 5. Wow. Well, no wonder 2020 can't have any success.
Yeah, because all those guys are killing them.
Yeah, they all got an extra year.
And so and they all got an extra year. Then it goes Whitlake, Silva, Teamer, Brock Hardy, Gavin Hoffman. So it falls off a little. But then it's like Beard, RBY, Brayton Lee, Cassiopeia. There's a lot of guys.
Dang.
Shane Griffith was 19.
Oh my God.
It would be go back. There's been
so funny.
A lot of talk on value picks in NBA draft recently. Like it would be go back to find who is the best value pick from a big board, like most NCAA points per position on big board or some sort of calculation.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be fun to look at.
And then which team is the best at getting the value picks would be great also.
Yeah, NC State's in there for sure. Over a period of time.
Oh yeah.
NC State's class this year was a little
to
different.
Distract us. I really love the old recruiting class rankings. They're so much fun.
They are fun to look back on. Sometimes not great radio because it just turns into, wow, remember this guy? This guy was so good. Turns into us saying names.
What's that one? What's that meme, JD, where it's like dudes will just sit around and say
list
old names of sports players and have the best time? Yeah, it's kind of fun.
It's true, though. It is fun.
Yeah. Okay, let us... Have you guys got to check out any of the interviews from... Oh, what?
Is Dillon... How many years of eligibility does Ragusin still have? Because he was in 2020, and I feel like he's like done with college, but there's no way he's done, right?
Well, it's because he's just taken his red shirt this year. He never redshirted.
Okay.
Plus a free year.
Okay.
Yeah, remember he read his... Nothing.
He cut down to 25.
His freshman year was in the...
Oh, yeah, Corona.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Have you got to check out any of the interviews from World Team Camp, Ben?
I watched James Green. He gave me a few shout outs on the old hip surgery.
He did.
Yeah. So it's glad, it's great to hear he's feeling so well. And I experienced the same thing of so much relief of pain and can move better and all that stuff. So it'd be cool to see him compete again. I actually don't believe, because I was, I did semi-compete, I guess, after my hip surgery, but I looked into it, and when I was looking into it, no one had actually professionally competed again after having the hip surgery that I could find out, the specific one we had. So, it's pretty impressive that James will be able to get back out there and wrestle at a really high level.
Man, you listen to it more and more and more. And how adamant and how he just searched high and low to try to find the solution for his hip. Really kind of speaks to how much he really wants to come back. Because it wasn't just about a quality of life surgery. It seemed almost primarily driven by his desire to compete again and get a healthy hip. And that's how I read it. Yeah.
I felt like with the other one that he just didn't want to be it seemed like he kept talking about the loss of bone. Remember, he kept saying that. It kept seeming like he has the other surgery, and it was annoying how the doctors were trying to force him into that other surgery, that he's going to have it 3 or 4 more times during the course of his life.
Yeah. Why do you think that was? Why do you think they wanted him to get that one?
There's you know what? I would probably have to. I don't want to speak out of turn because I would probably have to sit down with the doctor and talk over the pros and cons. But I suppose I did. There's a lot of doctors who, for whatever reason, and I don't. I actually there was one doctor who was a parent of a wrestler, and I told him I was getting Birmingham hip. He said, "Oh, don't do that. Do the regular one." And I was like, "Why?" And he didn't really give me any good reasons. He said something like it was unproven or not as many people have done it or something like that. But to me, especially I got it when I was 34 as a younger person, and James was 29 or 30. Dude, you have the other one. You can't do nothing. You are I couldn't wrestle. I couldn't go running. I couldn't do that. And with the Birmingham, it was like, you're full go. Like, I could do it. There are zero restrictions on what I can do. So I don't know why the medical profession pushes that other one so hard. And it's like James had a way harder time than I did. I got connected with the right doctor right away, but James had to go through like a real struggle to get the surgery that he wanted.
Yeah, your guy quit the profession after he did your surgery.
He also got Coach Flynn. He got Coach Flynn fixed up. He got Coach Clemson fixed up. He did a lot of wrestling people.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Alex Scott is. Man, yeah, Ben found out he might not be able to run. He's like, no way. Like, that can't be.
I will tell you, Christian, though, listen, this is I don't want to get sentimental here, but like prior to my surgery, I would not be able to do a sprint, Ben. I couldn't do a sprint. Like having the ability just to like go run like you're a little kid again it's freaking amazing. Like, even like in the backyard with my kids, like to actually be able to run is like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like I hadn't been able to do that for years. Like I could because my legs just wouldn't, my left leg wouldn't go as far, so to be able to like really open up your stride is amazing.
Yeah. How do you feel comparatively?
I mean, I'm way better than
do you even notice that?
No, better. I'm way better.
Well, yeah, I know you're better. I mean, comparing to maybe one of your last memories of not having really any hip issues.
It was it had been a long time. No, I don't really remember.
Really?
Yeah, it was so long ago.
Dang.
I mean, it got progressively
Well, glad you got it.
It got worse and worse and worse. But yeah, no, I remember having them for quite a long time.
I don't know if we explain what we're talking about.
James Green's hip surgery. He's coming back to wrestling.
He's back. And what was interesting, because we talked about it on the last show, is what it's for. And I was basically completely wrong in my subject. I thought it was like one last run for 2024 kind of thing. But it's like, no, 2024 is like not even – it sounds to me like James isn't even going to attempt to make a run at the Olympics. He's moving in September. And then he weighs 159, so he's definitely not a 74-kilo guy, but 65 would still be a thing, and he's not been training. So it's really all about making a run at 70 kilograms for the next quad, which is, man, very, very exciting. And it's interesting because for all his didn't dip that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was never like, oh man, he's other than like trials, like you were never like Olympic trials. You're never like, dude, he's done. He's not good anymore. He was always still on the level. So it's crazy to think about how limited he was. He's talking about how upright his stance become. He had to change his lead leg, which I don't really remember that.
Yeah. I don't remember that either, but then when you're talking about the upright stance, I can attest to that too. And then the one that really got me at the end, because when I retired the second time, I kind of stopped doing private lessons, like one-on-ones for a while, because I couldn't close my chest over my leg like this, like it wouldn't. And so then it was like I was off balance a lot, right? Because I couldn't shrink my like center of gravity. And so I kind of felt like I was always off balance. And so, that's me wrestling with lower level, high school kids, right? And so James Green trying to compete at the highest of levels and having that limitation, that sucks.
Explain some of his. I mean, I think vividly about his Ryan Deacon loss at the U.S. Open. I don't know if you remember it, but it was this weird. He basically had it won, and he got taken down. He got caught kind of totally out of position by Deacon, which is it was really surprising actually. And now thinking back, it's like, oh yeah, well, he probably wasn't able to get in his stance the way he used to, and you got someone like Ryan Deacon who's really quick to the leg and really long. You could find yourself in trouble. And of course, he beat him twice for Final X, but still, that loss stuck out to me as maybe one where, he wasn't talking about it, but certainly limited him. Maybe changed the result of a match. But yeah, he sounds so excited about it and really feeling like, hey, I'm going to be a different guy for sure. Mm-hmm. On this side of the surgery, which I knew he had the hip surgery in 2017. I didn't know that it was an issue that persisted beyond that. But apparently that's because he was not even telling anyone, including like places he was training, like Virginia Tech. Like they had no idea how limited he was.
Because you can't do anything about it. So it's kind of like, why bug everyone with it? It's just like you're going to work around what you're going to work around, and then there's no changing it. It's not like you can go to the trainer and say, "Hey, I got this issue, fix it." Like there's no fixing,
Yeah, yeah. JD, any James Green thoughts?
No, you guys pretty much summed it up. I'm excited to see him make a run at 70 kilograms, and I think that's smart to just not go all in on 65 or 74. Like he's just proven he physically cannot. So
yeah,
lock down 70.
I mean, honestly, it's knowing that he walks around at 159, it's like, man, he's not a very big 70 kilogram guy at that point. But then I'm wondering, and I think he even mentioned this, like I haven't been lifting or anything, so I would imagine he gets up a little bit bigger when he's training. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's not been able to like even try to put on size. But 159, walking around, cutting down to 154.5, has got to be one of the smaller cuts, probably for that weight class at the
I feel like
international
with the
level.
double morning of, it's like they shouldn't be getting that big. Like it's probably more wise to at least obviously in international competitions you're not weighing in as many times as like say a college season. But in a college season, I mean, if you're getting 10 or 12 over and then having to make weight, the Friday and then the Sunday, like that's going to be a real issue. You're probably not going to perform as well as if you're like really got your body shrunk down and you're like really relatively close to that weight class. So internationally, maybe if you have 4 months, you get a little bigger. But as you get close, I would have to think the water weight cut, if it's, some of these guys sweat really easy. But for some of the ones who don't sweat as easy, if they're cutting 12 pounds and then they're having to make weight again the next day, like it's probably gonna be an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So he's probably just perfectly sized for 70. Excited to see. I'm sure Nebraska's excited to have him back. I mean, James is just one of the best dudes around. Just like probably be a great influence on the team and the program. Okay, so probably one of the more interesting themes of all the interviews David did is the talk about Russia and Belarus back at Worlds. Will they, won't they? It's still not determined. But the sentiment among the camp and Coach Zadek is like they're expecting and preparing for them to be there. And not just preparing, you obviously prepare for them to be there, but they are expecting Russia and Belarus to compete at the World Championships.
Yeah. Man, it'll be hard. I guess they still have a couple months, but it's annoying to have to prepare without like saying, will these guys be there or won't they? Because if they are there for I don't say the majority, maybe the majority of our guys, that would be the prime competition, right? The main person they're worried about. And if you have something like that, like if they're strong in underhook, you're probably going to work a little more underhook defense, right? Or if they're strong on high crotch defense, you're going to work a little more on your high crotch finishing. And without having to know if they're there or not, it does make it a little more challenging.
I would simply prepare for every move in wrestling and then go out and execute. Have you considered this?
Well, I mean, so obviously on the general spectrum, you want to get as good at wrestling, but when you get to such a high level, when you're at like the very peak, and like how many people in the world could actually beat, if they got 10 chances, how many in the world could actually beat Kyle Dake? And the answer is like, I don't think it's very many. Like if they got 10 chances, Kyle Dake is going to be most dudes in the world 10 out of 10 times. And so if there's I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 5 guys you got to worry about. And then, maybe a couple of those guys beat 1 time out of 10, right? But now, how many people are going to go 50-50 with Kyle Dake? 1 or 2, maybe, So it's like, okay, well, let's focus on those guys. Let's lock in. And because of my style, there's maybe 1 or 2 people who can, that 1 or 2 positions that I have to worry about from those people. Let me lock in on those positions. Let me work there a little more because I'm probably going to be there. I'm probably going to be in these positions. Yeah, I want to do that. I really do.
Don't you think that's probably what he's doing?
Yeah, but then if there's those people don't show up, then it's like, if I was wasting all my time on these damn positions and they're not even there. You know?
Oh, they'll be there. Yeah. Well, yeah. But Ben, to your point, if they're not there and there's only 3 people that could even go win 1 out of 10 matches with him, then
I guess
it's not really
irrelevant. You're right. Yeah.
time wasted for
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably better just to
that
be
was
prepared than not.
Yeah. For every move in wrestling.
Here's the oh my god, you're funny.
One thing Kyle said,
so,
kind of in that same vein, that I thought was interesting was like he went all the way back to I think 2014, and he was like, in 2014, I was only the best guy. I could have been the best guy in the world, but only on one day out of the year. And he's like, in 2015, it was 100 days out of the year. In 2016, he's like, that's how much I got better. And now he's like, I'm the best guy in the world basically every day of the year. But it was an interesting way of thinking about it and putting it.
I did notice that. That was going to be the next thing I brought up too, JD. I thought that was interesting. Ben, did you ever think of yourself in those terms?
Well, unfortunately, I never got to be the best in the world. But
come on now, Ben.
Well, I didn't.
You were. Well,
MMA,
you were
if I would have got to fight people in like say 2012 through 2015, 16, I would have liked my chances. But fighting, no, I didn't really think in those terms. I mean, in wrestling, and I'd say wrestling, like I don't think I would have had, and I did. I had a bad tournament in 2007, and I still won. I think even on my bad days in 2006, 7, I beat everyone in those weight classes. So yeah. A little bit.
What did you think about that portion when Kyle was talking about like his growth and becoming? Now he said he's the best in the world 364 days of the year.
Well, who's the last day?
Well, I don't. He just said that's just the number he said.
Yeah, I don't. With Kyle, it's so hard. And I didn't watch his interview, so I don't know if he said this, but with him, it's so hard because I feel like he has, and this I guess this would be similar to like me and Chris Pelton, my last 2. It's like no one else really mattered. Like it was like, can I beat Chris Pelton or can I not beat Chris Pelton? And that was it, right? And so for him, it's like, can he beat Sedgelayev or can he not beat Sedgelayev? And that's the real question.
Sidikov.
I was talking about Dake. We're talking about Dake.
Oh shoot! I thought you went to Snyder. I think you said Snyder.
I think I just said Kyle.
I don't think so. I probably Kyle.
I don't know why you switched to Kyle. Okay, well, I switched to Kyle Snyder because that's his right. That's his measuring stick, and it sucks that he doesn't get to have that on a year in year out basis. Kyle Snyder or Kyle Dake. I mean, it does suck that he doesn't get to face Sidikov because Sidikov is widely renowned as the best at 74, and they didn't get to wrestle in 2020, so it'd be nice to see them wrestle this year.
Okay. Do we want to get to questions?
Sure.
Some.
Before we depart.
I'm looking at more big boards. I don't know if you want to talk about more big boards.
I pull one in. Pull one in.
Well, I got it is so 2017 and 2018 were so good, and so then it feels like a lot of the years after that weren't as good. And are they not as good because 2017 and 2018 are so good? Therefore, it prohibitively limits the success of 2019 is not that good. We already talked about 2020 not being that good, and 2021 is. I mean, they still have a lot of eligibility, but you're looking at it like, well, that dude's not on the roster. That dude's not very good. That dude's not even starting, like that type of thing. So it's like how one of these dudes, I don't even remember his name, which is pretty rare that I don't remember their name.
Who?
Trey Kibe. I don't remember this guy ever.
He was a Pennsylvania state champ. Originally committed to Penn State and then flipped to Virginia Tech.
He was number 13. I don't remember him at all. But then so that was 2021 class. But like 2019, the top few are really good. But then you like Jojo Aragona. I don't think he's on a roster anymore. Klebov doesn't start. So you did have Staraki at 9, which is, he's probably the number 1 from that class, obviously. But you have like a Ryan Anderson. I don't think he's on a roster. Matt Olgian is decent. Connor Brady. Keck Eisen down at 14. So you guys like value picks, like you would say, JD, a little lower, but the top ones, there were kind of a lot of misses.
Yeah, there's some whiffs here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but as I scroll down, you got a Foca at 21. You got Ridge Love at 16.
Yeah, good value picks here. Cam Amin at 17. He's been a multiple-time All-American. Lucas Bird. Yeah, so it's kind of a top. Like Decatur's not a starter anymore. He was 5. Yeah.
Chris Cannon, 91.
Wow.
Northwestern got what was wasn't Deacon like 90 or something
low.
like that too?
He was super low. I mean, he might have been off big board.
I think he was in the 90s. I remember kind of looking at this. We had Andonia at 28. That's a great value pick right there.
Kyle Parko, 71 for sure.
Ooh. Oh, the best value pick. Hey, no, actually, this is great because you guys owe me an apology.
Great American hero.
Number 40. I sent you a damn picture of him in a plane and flying a plane. You two apologize to me right now because I said he was
flying.
I was on your team.
He was flying?
Yeah, I said
he wasn't flying the
plane taking off. Yes, the plane took off. That was
you
him.
Couldn't see him flying the plane.
Yeah, of course, I can't see in the cockpit as the plane's taking off. That was him flying the plane. I'm not freaking lying.
Doctored.
Well, I don't think you're lying. I just don't think you know. And
what do you mean I don't know?
They let Caleb sit in the cockpit of a plane. I don't think that means he's.
I got a video.
Caleb is not America's heavyweight.
He's
I got a video of him in the cockpit, and then the same plane was just taking off. Yeah, they can't see him. I'm sorry, they don't have an in the cockpit camera, guys.
That's what I'm going to require. A selfie video of him taking off.
Oh my God. Yes, because he's going to take a selfie while he's flying the plane. Oh,
absolutely. Very normal. Have you seen Top Gun Maverick? They had cameras all over the place for that thing.
I don't even want to comment on that.
Okay. So yeah, maybe he is. Wait, where was Hendrickson?
He was 40. The best. That's a great value pick right there.
Considering all the pinpoints he's getting. How many years does he have left? 1? 1 year left. Dang. He's a bad boy.
Yeah, I wish Gable didn't come back just so Wyatt could win. Gable, please come back.
Do you think Gable maybe doesn't love America? Is that your conclusion?
Yes, we don't know.
He did win us a gold medal.
There's no way.
This is his heel turn.
Yeah. This is his heel turn. If he goes on an anti-Air Force heel turn.
I did tell WWE about Wyatt Hendrickson. I said, this guy's amazing. He's electric. He's gonna serve our country, and then maybe after that, you guys could sign him up.
Hey, Gable was out there suplexing dudes at the next event or whatever that was.
Oh my gosh! Did you see this, Ben?
What?
Gable throwing the Gable NXT thing.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Oh my gosh!
You know what's weird? And I mean, maybe there's actually a reason from an entertainment standpoint. But if Gable knows how to do like a real soup, why doesn't he the way they do it and they kind of let him go is kind of weird, right?
He's just tossing.
Yeah.
Maybe that doesn't hurt as much.
Maybe they think it's just cooler looking.
Maybe that.
I don't know. I'm not the one to get inside the biz of WWE. Okay. First question is easy. Women's freestyle wrestle off for Helen is August 12th in Colorado Springs. I don't know the time, but that is that. And then I thought this question was interesting. How many of the current crop of Penn State recruits / freshmen do you believe will start all 4 years? Do you think some will lose eligibility for the chance to wrestle there? 100% they will go there knowing that there's a chance they don't start all 4 years. And I think there's almost no scenario all these touted recruits see the lineup all 4 years. I'm having a hard time.
Well, you made this chart.
Putting the pieces together. Yeah, what do you think?
Well, there's a few places where it's not nearly as hard. But some of those middleweights, it's like, whoa. I mean, and so when we say current crop, we're talking about the 2023-24s. We're talking about the following class. I don't know which class we're talking about, but say like 25 and 33, just for example, Howard, I don't know how Howard somehow has 4 years of eligibility left. I don't even know how that's possible. And then in 2 years, Lillidahl and Mason Gibson will be done with their red shirt. And in 2 years, Aaron Nagao will also have a year left. And Braden Davis would also have 3 years left, right? So that's 5 guys, 2 weight classes. And I guess you could say of those 5 guys who would be eligible in the 2025-26 season, one of them could move up to 41 because Bo Bartlett will be done in that season.
So you could say, okay, Nagao 25-26 goes to 141. That's maybe reasonable. He was a freshman 33. He's got some length. But that said, like Mason Gibson, Robbie Howard, Luke Lillidahl, and even Braden, I don't see them leaving 33 in terms of height. Like they're not.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how Luke, Mason, Robbie, Braden all fit. Now, if you're a Penn State fan, you're probably thinking, well, listen, if in 3 years from now, if Robbie Howard's still wrestling, consider that a big win, because to this point, he's not been able to string healthy seasons together or even get on the mat.
Yeah.
So you maybe aren't factoring that in. And I also feel like Braden Davis can't be really part of their long-term plans other than depth, right? Or something happens with injury. So then it's just fitting Mason and Luke. And I feel like Luke, it could work perfectly if he's a 33, because if Nagao moves up to 41, then Luke can slide in at 33, and then he can duke it out with Robbie Howard at 125.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it could all fit. Where I think it's interesting for Penn State.
No, at least 2 of those guys are sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess it fits. It doesn't fit. It fits if Robbie is injured, right? Which is not necessarily fit, like, because it sounds like everything's going great because if someone's injured and can't wrestle, that's not good. But for Penn State, they can't operate hoping that Robbie's going to be healthy either and not recruit the weight class.
Yeah. And then the other part where this just doesn't fit, and it's so ridiculous, in the 2025-26 season, between 49 and 65, you have all of these people with eligibility and likely no red shirt, unless you say Haynes red shirt for a few more years, which maybe you can, maybe you don't. I don't know. He does have red shirt, but Van Ness, Kasich, Seeley, Gibson, Haynes, Facundo, and Mitchell, that's 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people for 3 spots. And maybe you bump up to 74, but then you'd have to bump someone out of 74 also. And none of those guys seem to be all that large to me. Right?
JD, is there any scenario where Kasich's a 41?
No.
No scenario. Okay. So he's 49, 57. Steely's 57, 65. I think it is going to get it's going to be tough. And now with Mitchell, Mitchell at 57 for a little bit of time? I do feel like there's some guys that are sort of unimpeachable. Like Levi Haynes is going to be in this lineup no matter what. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be occupying a spot. Whereas someone like Eric or even Kasich and Steely, it's like you could see a scenario where maybe those guys are on the outside looking in at some point. And I kind of feel that way a little bit by Mitchell. This could be like a little bit in front of the horse, but I feel like he's going to be one of those guys where he's going to be in your lineup no matter what. So with that, if you assume that Levi and Mitchell are 57s or 65s, how do you fit in Kasich, Seeley, Gibson?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly,
I didn't even say Facundo.
Yeah, you didn't even say Facundo. I mean, does Penn State find a way to keep them all around, or after this year? So after this year, you're gonna have some red shirts and you're gonna have some room, but Kasich will be in the room. Wasn't Gibson in the room this year, or did he gray shirt?
He's young.
Well, he definitely wasn't in high school this year.
Eric
Mason Gibson. Oh, Eric. Sorry.
Eric. So either redshirted or gray
I
shirted
don't
this
know.
year. So I don't know about his eligibility, but he'll definitely be in the room. Haynes is gonna be in the room. Facundo's gonna be in the room. Mitchell's gonna be in the room. So the only one in that group who will not be in the room would be Joe Seeley. So I don't know what I would think is you're gonna have the pecking order figured out after you're gonna have the pecking order figured out, right? You're gonna kind of have an idea of where you stand. And if you were a guy who's kind of way behind the other guys, and you're like, well, they all still have 3 or 4 years of eligibility, aren't you going to go somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, this for sure.
I'm never going to beat that dude.
An option.
Like, he kicks my butt. Like, I should go somewhere else.
But we've seen that, and they don't really leave too much. They stick around.
Yeah.
Like even someone like Joe. Well, Neville's just left.
Yeah.
But he left, a year or two late, honestly. He could have been starting.
That left. Who else left? Was there one or two other ones?
Sometimes they even leave, go coach, and then come back.
Yeah, they come back.
No, Michael
Brady Berge.
Michael Beard went to Lehigh.
Yeah. Maybe it'll start happening a little bit more. And they can get creative with gray shirts, and Olympic red shirts are very attainable now. So there's some ways you can move it around.
There's no way they're getting creative enough.
Yeah. They need to create a new weight in a couple of those spots. Is about one of the only options they have.
Yeah.
It's going to get crowded, but I feel like there have been a couple other times where we've looked at this and we're like, how's this going to fit? And generally it works out. Just attrition. Guys leave. Guys get injured. Change weights. Red
so next year there will be 4 guys for 3 spots. Is essentially what's going to happen next year. And the other thing that actually could happen, I've heard this, and this would be 4 guys for 4 spots, and I'm assuming Facundo would bump. You have Facundo's having a red shirt, but I don't believe that's correct. Right?
He can Olympic.
Oh,
he could Olympic.
Okay, would be if Starocci does an Olympic red shirt, which someone brought that up to me as a possibility, and then you would have 4 guys for 4 spots, and Facundo would go up a weight class.
Yeah. I'd said to someone, because I've thought this, and I've probably said it too, like, if Carter's serious about making the Olympic team at 74, he needs to either go 65 this year or Olympic red shirt. Yes. I don't think there's any scenario he's going to be competitive. And I said that to someone affiliated loosely around there, and they're like, yeah, pretty much that's true. So I just don't see how you wrestle 174 all year long, and then you don't even go down a weight class. It's like a weight class plus a pound and a half, right? It's like 165 would not make 74 kilograms. You know what I'm saying, Ben? It's like, it's not just going down a weight. It's a weight and then some. And that pound and a half is not insignificant. And he has no idea. Carter, as good as he is and as well as he thinks, he has no idea how his body's going to respond down at that weight class. So I don't know. I know he talks so much about the Olympics, and that's like his main goal. But he just seems like a tweener, and I don't know. Maybe, and I don't see him Olympic redshirting either.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, Brooks could also do it, but he's not going to. He's just going to go 197 and then be done wrestling for Penn State after this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all the first world problems this year. Penn State will likely redshirt. They'll likely redshirt everyone. Braden, Kasak, Gibson, Facundo, I think could redshirt. Josh Barr, they all will come in this year, and I would expect all of them to redshirt, unless Haynes redshirts, in which case maybe Facundo does end up going at 65. Yeah. We know Ben has no inside info, so I won't even ask.
I mean, I've encouraged Mitchell Russell 57, and I want to say he said Haynes was kind of big. I don't recall that though for sure. Don't quote me on that one, please.
You're quoted. Consider yourself quoted. Okay. It is 10:30 here in the East Coast.
9:30
for you guys.
9:30.
I'm going to use
That's when the show ends.
We got Fargo coming up soon. I'm so excited. Thursday, are we gonna talk about some Fargo stuff? We should have all the rosters in, right, JD?
Probably.
Thursday should be everyone in.
I wonder if we get David Bray on here to talk Fargo.
That'd be good.
And
we gotta talk about this. The way UFC counts takedowns, because Shane Sparks would be so jacked up. It drives me effing crazy. Like Volkanovski has 5 takedowns, and then he hits a mat return, like 6 takedowns. I'm like, that ain't a takedown. That was a damn mat return. He's only retaining control. He's not taking him down, for God's sakes.
I mean, by the technical language, he took him down.
Yeah, man.
Stop.
What if Matt return? What if Matt returns were takedowns? What if you get 2 points per
incentivize no one to actually get up? You wouldn't get up. You would only try for reversals, because if you just, mat returning, especially if you're incentivized by scoring more points, it's going to be incredibly easy.
No one would benefit more than the Granby system, because then they're never they're just rolling. Or switch camp. Yeah. A switch resurgence, which I think we could all appreciate that.
Very bad for the bottom person. It's already bad enough for the bottom person. It would be worse.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, we're going to go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back Thursday. We will be talking Fargo. Maybe we'll get David Bray on. I haven't asked him yet, unless he's listening right now. Consider this a formal inquiry, David. Hope you guys have a great week. Beautiful here in Virginia. And make sure you're keeping it on the website. We got a ton of Fargo content. I'm sure more World Team Trials or World Team Camp content coming out. So for Ben and JD, I'm CP. Have a good one. See you guys.